Introduction for project management. Project management is actually the process and activities of planning, organizing, and motivating. Okay, controlling resources, procedures, and protocols. Achieve specific goal in scientific or daily problems. If you read carefully on this portion, it's talking about you achieve specific goals on your daily problem. On your daily problem, in terms of like now you are in your life, every day or everything that you do is part of the problem. So you are trying to solve the problem every day, every hour, or every minute, or every second. Okay? So this is partial of project management. Okay, next, project management is to achieve all of the project goals, okay, and objective or honoring the propulsive constraint. Okay, the primary constraint are scope, time, quality, and budget. Okay, in this portion, we are talking about actually to achieve your goals and your objectives set for the particular projects. Like for example, if you are talking about power plant, okay, the one that we are talking about is thermal power plant. So your primary objective is to, whatever the company already have the contract, like building boiler, for example. Okay, so your objective is to ensure that the boiler is built at a specific period. Okay, then your objective is to ensure that the boiler works way after you build everything. So this is part of the project management. You cannot be building everything and the end of it, the boiler works. Okay? At the end of it, the project is delayed. Okay? Then that is not project management. Project management also doesn't contribute to delays of schedules or whatsoever. That's why inside there's another 4 things that call scope. It's what type of scope of work that you are looking at. And time in terms of time frame. That is given to you 1 year, 1 month, or 1 day. Okay, these are the time. Okay, then plus quality. Quality is the work produced after your installation or your project management. That is the quality good or bad. Okay, then after that followed by budget. Budget is the one thing that you will have to keep it with you along the way. Because budget is the one that when a company, let's say you get a contract of 100 billion. So the budget for you maybe is about 90 billion. Then you have to work along with the 90 billion. Inside this, you have to think about salary, think about overtime, think about worker number of worker, think about the training, think about all the different components. So this is the budget that you are working with. Okay, so understand that project management there's 2 parts. Okay, one is to control resources, procedure, and protocol, and the other one is to ensure that you achieve your objective of the scope, time, quality, and budget. Okay, normal traditional approach for project management. Okay, usually you have the initiation, that means you have this project. Then after that followed by planning and design. But usually when we are talking about normal construction, you will not do design stage, but you will do planning stage. Okay, then after planning, then you will do execution. As this portion, execution. Okay, all the execution must come with monitoring and control. So when you do execution, you will definitely need to monitor whether you are doing correctly or not. Then next will be controlling. Controlling in terms of you are controlling in terms of budget, schedule, or your time management. So this is more controlling. Okay, the last part is closing. It means every project you will definitely have to close. So when you do project finish, then you have to close up. Whether you are having a profit or you are having a loss. Whether your quality of construction is good or bad. So these are the things that we are quite closing, or you can call it conclusion. Okay? Okay, the processes that I told you just now is the initiating, planning, production, or execution, monitoring, and controlling, and plus closing. I'll go into the details. Okay, initiating, okay, is about reviewing the current operation. That means you must have a project before you do any planning. Then you have to know your financial analysis. It means from this type of projects that you are going to make, your costing department or your economic department will plan about the cost for the particular works. Then they will do a budget. Okay? From that, then your stakeholder analysis, user or whatsoever personnel for the projects. You have to know about all these things, okay, before you do the execution portion. Okay? So project chapter including cost, task, delivery, and schedule. So these are the initiating parts where you need to know before you do all your planning stage for the projects. So this is the initial part where all these things you need to plan out how many manpower for particular things, how much you are going to use, what type of equipment you will plan on the cost. Okay? Next, planning. Planning is the time where the project is about to execute. Okay, so you need to plan how to do, okay, what you're going to do. So in terms of this, you need to know your scope. Okay? Then after that, you need to select a team. So like for example, if you have, we take example like level 69 one now have the boiler pass KL on boiler inspection. So the group have to plan what type of scope work that we really need to do. So if the scope work is construction and testing and commissioning, then you have to plan your construction team. You have to plan your commissioning team. You have to plan your testing team. So you have to bring your different expertise in the group to form a team. Okay? Then inside this type of thing, you also need to know under the construction team, you must have like a construction manager, then you must have supervisors, engineers, then you must have rigging team, you must have warehouse team or whatever. So this is part of the planning. Okay? Then next is identify deliverers and creating the work breakdown structure. So you need to know what type of work that you are looking at. Like what I told you just now, you need to know the scope of work. Then you need to know what type of scope of work. Then you can bring in different teams coming in to break down different rules. Okay, then you will need to identify activities. Like point number 5, you need to identify the activities needed to complete those works. Okay, and activities. Next, estimating the resources required for the activities. That means you need to estimate what type of resources you need. Okay, like I told you, like you need to know what type of crane you are using, what type of equipment you are using. Like you need air compressor a lot, you need hand tools a lot, what type of equipment you are using. So you need to identify different things. Okay, before you can do execution. So you need to plan first, plan. Okay, point number 7, estimating time and cost for activities. Like for example, the duration for the project for hybrid one is maybe about 1.5 years. So it's about 18 months. So you need to plan within this 18 months, are we able to achieve the goal? If we are able to achieve, how are we going to achieve? So you need to break down differently. Like for example, when you do boiler, then you need to break down the structure, non-pressure parts, pressure parts. Then after that, following like equipment, machines, all the things. You need to plan different things to know whether this achievable time schedule can be achieved. Okay? Then you need to estimate the cost. That means if you plan for like you want to install pressure pipe, then your planning for pressure pipe is about 9 months. So you need to estimate within this 9 months how many workers am I using, how many engineers am I going to use within this 9 months. Then this is part of the cost that you will be planning before you execute. Next, we have to developing on the schedules. That means I have told you many times on the schedule. So before planning, you need to know what type of duration that you have and what type of schedule that you have and what schedule that you are planning. Okay, whether is it 1 month, 1 year, or 1.5 years, or whatever, you need to plan this thing. Okay, you need to develop a budget. Okay, the budget inside we have been emphasizing a lot of budget because budget is part of the project planning. Okay, it's also very important that you need to know your budget. Whether you are using over the budget or you are using under the budget, you must have a range. Okay, that's the budget that you you need to call. Okay, like let's say maybe you have 90 billion of budget, so you can work anything within this 90 billion. If you can use more than 90 billion, okay, then you need to know why you are using more. Because the budget is 90 billion. Okay, 90 billion. Then you need to know why you are using more. If you are using less, of course it's good for the company, but you need to know what is the reason why you use more, and what is the rationale between why you are using lesser. You need to know if you are using lesser than the budget, then you must think about, am I calculating in the correct area? Or am I losing out certain areas that I missed out? That means I need to plan nicely whether am I using the actual budget or am I doing the group budgeting. Okay? Then you have to also do some risk planning. Risk planning in terms of what if certain things happen. Okay? You are taking some risk on a particular jobs. I want to try to see whether I can I want to try to venture into new things. But this new thing, our company never do before. But I'm taking a risk to capital or something. Okay, so this is something that you have to try to plan as a contingency. What if don't work, you must look at the old methods. Okay, but if this method works, the new method works, then maybe you are risk taking already done. Okay, so you have to do some risk planning. Next, gaining formal approval within work. You need to plan. After all your planning finish, you need to submit to the management, that means to the directors or to the project directors for approval of your teams, your budget, your time schedule, and whatsoever. Okay, so this you need to discuss with your directors before you proceed. So this is planning stage. Okay,
Vâng, từ trước tới anh em từ đầu giờ cái thứ nhất là có một định nghĩa quản lý dự án là gì anh em nắm được. Cái thứ hai là nó có trình bày anh em cách tiếp cận truyền thống và cách tiếp cận thứ nhất là trước giờ tiếp cận với việc công tác quản lý dự án là gì. Và đặc biệt trong công tác tiếp cận dự án planning toàn bộ được công tác kế hoạch có thể anh em mà mới có thể nghe cái gì cũng được chuyên hiểu có thể người ta đi tới mai how to plan với đầu tiên suy nghĩ cách tiếp cận kế hoạch như thế nào các bạn. Cái thứ hai là developing the scope statement, có nghĩa là cái này nó được triển khai phạm vi công việc. Thế một cái sản phẩm hoàn thành không phải là chỉ có một cái đơn vị làm mà có rất nhiều đơn vị. Ví dụ như là thành một thì chủ đầu tư, tổng thầu EPC, tổng thầu xây lắp và cách làm của thế đó nhằm thực hiện thử liên quan đến để tạo ra cái để shifting planning team, lựa chọn nhân sự và lựa chọn người để mà có những làm công tác kế hoạch. Vậy thì phải có những người có kế hoạch và có hiểu biết. Như vậy là thiết lập được một cái bộ phận mà coi như vậy là để làm các kế hoạch. Tiếp đó là có người một lớp identify individually that creating the work breakdown structure. Cái bước này rất là quan trọng. Bây giờ làm thế nào? Cái bước này là chủ yếu các bạn. Bây giờ tất cả những việc mà sau này trách nhiệm của bạn là kỹ sư và đặc biệt là quá trình điều hành phân loại của các loại hình công việc này. Cũng như nhiều khi mà tôi nói thiết bị áp lực, thiết bị không áp lực, reservoir structure, installation, refactoring, energy, painting, tất cả những loại công việc thì nó sẽ identify cái need to complete the individual networking, the activity in reality sinh hoạt. Có nghĩa là bây giờ các bạn phải nhận biết được tất cả hoạt động và tất cả những gì để mà cần thiết để hoàn thiện cái công việc này theo một thứ tự logic. Có nghĩa là logic là mình nhận biết cái công việc rồi ở một hành trên thì là hành với thứ tự công việc cái gì làm cái gì làm sao trong đó của đấy và trong một đó công việc cụ thể các bước gì phải làm để tạo ra những sản phẩm này. Tiếp đến là estimating the resource requirement for the activity và các bạn phải tiên lượng được rằng cái nguồn lực, nhân lực máy và miệng tài chính để mà hoàn thành cái công việc này. Bước tiếp theo thì bên tham gia cốt có những gì cái này rất quan trọng, và đặc biệt là rơi vào dấu ở những bạn và rơi vào các bạn không lại, có nghĩa là các bạn phải tiết lượng được thời gian của các bạn này và giá trị tiền của bạn này nó là gì giá trị. Thế thì cũng có những cái mà hoàn thành nhanh, lúc đó nói là không rõ, nhưng tiền nhiều luôn đủ cấp thời gian lâu để đi. Cái quan trọng là chúng ta biết được cái điều tối ưu như là để thỏa mãn cả yêu cầu. Rồi đi cố tình cho schedule đến bước này là các bạn có như vậy là căn cứ vào tất cả những trên thì các bạn có như vậy là triển khai được tiến độ. Tiến độ thì có rất là nhiều tiến độ. Thứ nhất có đến tiến độ cấp 5 và tiến độ cấp 6, đúng chưa? 6 tiến độ. Cấp tiến độ thứ nhất là cấp tiến độ tổng thể của cả. Cấp tiến độ thứ hai là cấp tiến độ tổng thể của hạng mục. Và đến như vậy là cấp tiến độ thứ ba là triển khai cái tiến độ của hạng mục. Cấp tiến độ thứ tư là triển khai chi tiết hơn và mỗi một bước như thế sẽ gọi developing basis. Thực tế cái khâu này là liên quan rất nhiều với những đồng chí mà sau này làm tổng tư lệnh, phó tổng tư lệnh hay là liên quan đến đặc biệt là nhóm quản lý của đảng. Bây giờ chuyển đến đồng chí một cái hợp đồng với giá trị như vậy, bây giờ các bạn có như vậy thì developing basis. Ví dụ như là cái ba làm cái đi một là bây giờ developing basis. Vậy thì basis của nó phân theo các loại hình hoạt động là bao nhiêu, phân theo như vậy là phân tích công việc, phân theo thời gian, phân theo loại hình công việc. Đấy, nên là từ trước giờ developing basis của chúng ta rất là nhiều, và đặc biệt là lúc mà có câu hỏi basis nó là thế nào thì có nghĩa là các bạn phải develop nó là khai triển khai đấy từ đó. Và cái quyết planning vậy trong quá trình đấy thì như vậy là kiểm soát rủi ro như thế nào để mà đạt được mục tiêu thì có những rủi ro gì xảy ra. Đấy, rủi ro của bên cái training performance nó cũng đi ghi quân, có nghĩa là toàn bộ cái này là chúng ta sẽ phải thiết lập thành một hệ thống tài liệu và được như vậy là thống nhất trước khi làm, và bộ tài liệu được phê duyệt, và khi bộ tài liệu planning được phê duyệt nó sẽ là kim chỉ đạo để cho tất cả hoạt động khác coi như vậy là của dự án. Nói chung cái planning này là việc của những nhà cầm quân ở công ty chúng ta, việc của toàn thể công ty xuống những công trình là có những việc của tất cả những sinh chuẩn với nhà cầm quân để mà thực hiện cái này trong tổ chức. Còn để hiểu sâu hơn cái này mất nhiều thời gian. Đấy thì anh em sâu hiểu đấy. Ok.
Okay, I hope it's something explanation and it will be even more clear. Okay, next execution. Okay, execution part is how to say? It's a bit straightforward. Okay, so you have the planning process group. From there you have the project management under the plan and strategy. Okay, and this is the execution part. From that, inside this integration you have quality assurance, that is your QC team, QA QC team. Then you have your procurement team, that is doing all the plan, contract, purchase of items whatsoever. Then you have your communication, this information distribution, that is under your planning team. Okay, then you have your team development. Okay, so these are the few groups that you will have. Understand? Then after that, followed by control process group. Okay, so inside this portion, once you have your execution team, okay, then you will be able to do all the execution. Okay, so this is part of the execution portion, like you will see procurement, construction, then followed by contracts, then your planning teams. Okay, so execution is quite straightforward. Okay, once you have your planning done, execution will be very easy. Okay. Next, monitoring and controlling. Okay, once you have planning process group, then you have the execution process group. Then this is the portion where you do all the monitoring. Okay, you have your performance report. Okay, that is every week or every day you have your daily reports or weekly report or monthly report. So you have to submit the monitoring. Then you have your scope verification, which you have to understand whether are you doing correctly under your scope. Then Then you have your time control. Okay, it's your schedule control. Are you on schedule or not on schedule? So these are all the monitoring portion. Then you have your quality control. That is, you need to know your quality of work, whether you are doing it as per instructed and as per specification. Okay, so these are part of the monitoring. Then integration portion, you have your integrated change control. Okay, followed by the scope change control. You have to check whether are you doing it correctly. Then if your scope works slightly a bit change, then you need to monitor what type of changes. If this type of changes can be due for claims, this additional work or variation orders. Okay, then after you have another one called cost control. So this one, at a certain portion every month, you have your finance to review with you, then you have your finance to understand on whether you are doing a good cost control. Okay? So these are things you need to know. Okay, cost you have to review every month, review every time. Okay, so that you are understanding that the cost is at a certain point. Okay, next is the risk monitoring control. Is this part. Risk monitoring control. Okay, you need to know, are we at the correct area and is the risk taken considered good or considered not very good. So you need to understand this monitoring. So this is mainly monitoring and controlling. Okay? Last, processing. After your control process group, okay, you need to know, that means after all the projects, okay, you need to have a closure after completion. So you need to have a contract closure. Okay, inside this contract closure, you need to understand is there any additional work
slide để
that
zoom
you
lên
have
đây
done.
sao vậy? Vâng, em có thấy màn hình mà.
View of quality, okay, we call it VOQ. View of quality is it according to the tender that you have. And inside this contract that you receive is a VOQ under lump sum or not under lump sum. You have to understand this portion. Okay, if under lump sum, any variation, okay, if there's no design change, you are not allowed to claim. So you have to understand this part. Okay, that's why it's called contract closure. Okay, if under your contract is lump sum, but design change, so you have to understand, can we claim? So once design change, maybe part of the contract indicated off, you can claim. So inside this contract, you need to know, okay, I can claim. So you need to calculate again on the BOQ. What is the difference? And you will start to claim. You will claim to your contractors, your main contractors, or you will start to do analysis and discussion. Okay, so next one is communication. Communication in terms of closing of the project. It means once you have all this under the contractual closure, everything done, okay, you can claim your video, you can claim your additional work, you can claim your manpower, additional whatsoever already done, then you can consider your close projects. Okay, so these are a few things that you need to take note. Okay, for project management. And this first is the initiating, okay, followed by planning, okay, followed by monitoring and control. It's block. Initiation, okay, then by your planning. Planning is you must execute. Okay, once you execute, then you will have monitor. Okay, after monitoring and completion of the project, you have closing. Okay, so these are the 5 things that we take note. Okay, so I will end my project management presentation. Any questions you need to ask me before I proceed to the bit of technical portion? You have to source from previous people. Because in your project team, you will definitely have a few experienced managers with you before you do the managing. So you will ask the managers for past previous projects. Then from this statement, you will understand they will have different portions. Then you will use that particular portion as your estimation. Then you will study your drawings first. Okay, then you will discuss with your technical team roughly how many months or how many weeks they require. Then for this discussion, then you will form it up and compare with the previous estimated schedule. See what is the difference. If the difference is not much, okay, and this the past experience is shorter, then your calculation is longer. You have to put longer. Okay, you don't put shorter period. Okay, usually shorter period will be at least about 8 on your side. You understand? So you must also discuss with the technical team in terms of the work, how they're going to execute, and what type of equipment they require. Then you can do the action plan. Okay, if you don't discuss with the technical team, you will never be able to plan out what's going on. You understand? Optimizing the cost will be mostly on your estimation. Like let's say you require 3 cranes for the boiler works. So you will estimate, I need 4 cranes just in case 1 crane breaks down. Okay? But your optimizing will be always work with 4 cranes. Then from there, the project will be a bit higher in terms of cost. Okay? But when you start to narrow down a bit with the technical, then you will how to finance all. Let's say for example the boiler you need maybe 200 litre, you need 100 litre, or maybe 150 litre. But what type of optimizing is you might not need to use such. You understand? You might be able to use 100 litre. So optimizing with 3 cranes, but you use the vessel with 100 litre. But this will help you to optimize the cost. You need not use very big crane to finish up the work. Okay, then after that, when you have some heavy lifting, then you have to know the duration of the heavy lifting. Then you will have optimize it by maximum how many months you need to use this crane. If you only need 3 months, okay, to complete all the work, you have to optimize under the contract with the crane contractors. Okay, at least you have the option of 3 months plus 2 months. At least you rented 3 months, then you have the option to extend another 2 months. Okay, just in case the project is big. So this is how you optimize. If just happen that you finish your 3 months, okay, you get to book it. So you save the cost. Understand? So all of the estimation and plus your gauge and your judgment. Okay.
Very good question, and you are my new engineer, so that I think in the near future will be successful. So question is from the identifying people and reading the most right answer up to the how to estimate the time of work for activity. The identifying minimal label and reading the work breakdown structure is very important, so that we show to everybody how to the most step by step to complete our product. Identify that we need to complete the delivery of that need, the network, the activity we are going to show. So that you really understand the activity leader. How many activity leaders making the resource requirement for the activity estimated time code? How to estimate this code? I think that you can estimate code based on the language. I mean, what we have I would have to read wow, and I'm interested in this stuff that may go. But who did it? You mean by all the mobilization class? mobilized block. In the mobilized block, you have the intellectual and the radical. What does it mean, the mobilized block? So that you have to estimate the resource to go into the job. There are three kinds of the resources in the manpower, mobilization plan, machinery, and equipment. Mobilization plan. And material. How much the manpower mobilization plan, how much machinery and the equipment mobilization plan, how much the material mobilization plan, so that you have to be the pictorial portion. And you have to update the conveyor, the bullets. So that, for example, mobilization plan manpower, how many rigger, how many driver, how many painter, how many helper, how many neighbor, so that we will have much the manpower mobilization plan. Well, for example, you have to estimate the schedule, how long to complete the product, to get up the client requirement, so that you will understand that how many engineers you have to mobilize, how many the workers you have to mobilize, and you have to break down the worker, for example, welder, rigger, housekeeper, something like that. And eventually you have to multiply how many grade, how many angle measure, how many the energy, the diesel generator, how many the chamber, how many scaffolder, something like that, and the TPI, how many the safety, the accessory, something like that. So that you know how many, so that if we multiply the unit and the unit track, so that we will have track. For the method mobilization track, we have method mobilization track. For example, any choice, steel plate, and other material that necessary to the complete work. So that's very important. Calculate how many money for the manpower, how many money for the machinery, how many money for material, so that it becomes something. This one is the direction. But there are some money we have to spend to get the job for some getting the house for the engineer, for manpower, living. For example, mobilization, the equipment and the manpower, they have to mobilize from the head office to the site. How many? Mobilize. And the get for example, document or payment the client and our partner pay up only to 5 or 10%. But in the execution, we have to spend about around 20 to 25 or the 30% the money. So that where this money borrow from the bank, or we have asked others to give us money to do it. So that the difference, the money we get from the client or our partner, we have to pay the bank interest. We have to pay it either pay the interest and the rent. It is planned, but how about actual? Nobody knows about it. So now you have to do the rent control. If the rent control interest this money, nobody gives us the job. So that we have nothing to do. But if the rent, the boss is the railroad, so that there are something happen. For example, maybe the supply from our client or our partner to the site email. So that the machinery manpower, material will be standard. In time, we already need to pay money for the machinery. We have to pay the salary for workers to stand by. And so many the money we already pay, but that money is not great to get to earn money. So that it is a road. There's something about school where something like that. It will be related to our course. There's so many activities. For example, management. This is the money paid to the board director, money paid to the housekeeper, to the cooker, money paid to the engineer. When we have to mobilize the engineer money will be in charge of power or that. All the discord in the level. So that you can define the level. What does it mean the level? The level is the money to pay directly to complete the job. The indirect is money we have to pay to control for the completing the job. This is the number one level. The number two level, so that I think this one you can apply much better to our clients or to our partner. For example, you learn judicial most of the foreign our partner. You can make it like that and bring it to the summit. But I think in the domestic company, for example, if we do some project in the domestic company, they go to the chef will approve after the partition. If we do, we all number one level. Number two level, it will be based on the area. We will be on the area. So that we will find out the deviation between the Olivia model. For example, like we already complete the nationwide project with the capacity of 600 megawatt. It is similar to the Taiwan. Similar to Taiwan. Okay, now the nationwide already complete. So that we will understand by the updating how many money for the nationwide project. How about the benefit and the other fee for the nationwide project? Now we transfer to the Thailand. We will apply for the Thailand. Okay, so that what is the deviation? Value of the deviation here. Ở con đúng sai rồi. For example, what if the ruler we supply the crane over 100 tons. How about Taliban? How about the Olympic standard? In the research, the average assembly is only around 6 million Vietnam dollars. But in the Taliban, now it is 2015 and 2016, the average salary on is increasing up to I think around 8,500,000 Vietnam dollars per person per month. It is deviation. And how about the mobilization plan? How about the camera? So that you have to decompose what is the difference between the Islam and the Taliban. So that you can lay on the second method. For the second method is very good, showing you the goal of the plan. I already applied the second method for so many activities. For example, the Lakai Chengkon plan, all the Namibia oil refinery plan, I already applied this method. And the third method, now Vietnamese the government regulation, there are some standards applied for all the computer plan. The simple that we do for the government, we have to apply the treaty. But the check for the vote is 90. This is a free and plan. So that who make the function or estimate it's very important. Who need to go right this way. Very balance between the income and the expense. Các bạn nào có thể là bạn nhạc cũng nên nói là đúng là tôi nói thì tôi nói bạn cái gì bạn nào
ở đây thì tổng giáo thông nói là để quản lý cái dự án thì mình có 3 cái phương pháp để tiếp cận. Nhưng phương pháp thứ nhất là khi quản lý nguồn vốn thì chúng ta chia ra 2 loại vốn, tức là vốn trực tiếp và hai là loại vốn gián tiếp. Loại vốn trực tiếp là chúng ta chỉ có thể kiểm soát được bởi 3 yếu tố. Thứ nhất là nhân lực, chi phí cho nhân lực, chi phí cho máy móc và chi phí cho việc chi tiêu cho vật liệu. Đấy, cái bên cạnh đấy thì sẽ có một cái nguồn vốn gián tiếp khác. Đấy, cái nguồn vốn này sẽ hỗ trợ cho việc hoàn thành cái kế hoạch, bao gồm có là vốn dành cho các hoạt động khác, vốn dành cho các hoạt động quản lý phụ trợ theo đấy. Và cái phương pháp tiếp cận thứ hai là mình sẽ tiếp cận theo kiểu như là mình đã có kinh nghiệm từ trước rồi. Ví dụ như là trước đây mình đã có mình đã làm việc và đã lắp ráp ở cái nhà máy nhiệt điện Nghi Sơn thì là mình đã có một số cái kinh nghiệm làm việc đối với cái dự án đấy, và mình biết được là tại cái hoạt động này thì mình sẽ phải chi tiêu khoảng bao nhiêu đấy, và mình sẽ đưa ra cái mức định mức đấy để mình áp dụng vào trong cái nhà máy nhiệt điện Thái Bình một này, và mình gần như là mình có thể áp dụng toàn bộ. Nhưng mà để tối ưu hơn thì chúng ta có thể tìm ra các biện pháp cải thiện khác để giảm thiểu chi phí, và cùng lắm là chúng ta sẽ chỉ đạt, tức là cái mức chi tiêu đấy chỉ cùng lắm là bằng với lại cái giá tiền và cái ngân sách mà mình bỏ ra cho cái dự án của Nghi Sơn, nhiệt điện Nghi Sơn trước đây. Và một cái phương pháp thứ ba thì vẫn chưa nói gì.
Đấy là tiếng Anh của anh là không được sai rồi đúng không? Cảm ơn. Nó có bạn này để mà làm báo cáo. Em đặt câu hỏi là có sự trong này, có sự đúng không? Anh muốn nói gì không? Thế này thì giải thích được như này. Để mà làm báo cáo, để mà làm sự quản và làm việc cái giá, tôi phải nói rằng là trong 100 học sinh sau này chỉ là 1-2 năm mà làm được. Với cái truyền thống trước đây chúng ta mà sống, còn tôi rất hy vọng là sau này số kỹ sư này sẽ có nhiều người làm được. Để mà làm báo cáo thì cái bước đầu tiên các nước các bạn phải lập một kế hoạch tốt, các bạn biết tiến độ như nào, rồi các bạn bóc tách số lượng công việc, các bạn liên kết số lượng công việc, và từ đó các bạn phương pháp thứ nhất là các bạn cần phải huy động. Huy động là các bạn phải huy động bao nhiêu người, là những loại người này, loại thợ này, thợ cầu kiển, thợ hàn, thợ sơn, thợ lấy nò, thợ bảo ôn, thợ lái máy, thợ máy cờ, operator và một các bạn. Về máy thì các bạn phải xem là để vào những cái này máy móc các bạn huy động. Ví dụ chân cẩu muốn phải sử dụng cẩu 60 tấn, các bạn phải dùng 25 tấn, các bạn hết bộ sạch canh. Và cái nước của nước vận nhận các bạn phải huy động theo thời gian các bạn sẽ biết, và các bạn nên đơn giản để các bạn làm cái gì. Thế để mà muốn làm những việc này thì phải nói là chúng ta đầu tư phải như vậy, không nên phải làm thế. Như vậy thì để mua gì nhỉ? Nhưng mà đơn này mà muốn lấy được các bạn phải có những cái căn trở những cái tầm 2-3 năm để trở lại công việc. Trong quá trình đấy sẽ có những đào tạo lần và dần những báo cáo cái đầu dần lớn sẵn. Nhưng mình mà làm một báo cáo mình cũng mất đến 10 năm. Nhưng mà trước đây mình không ai nói này, mình đã có nhân thuộc sách thuộc vở nghe các nói ở những câu chuyện hết sức hữu duyên mình biết rồi. Cách thứ hai thì các bạn sử dụng cái tôi thống kê dựa vào kinh nghiệm. Ví dụ như là tôi đang nói là ở cái số 1 là mình đã làm rồi đúng hệt 2012, nhưng đúng hệt đấy là đúng hệt về đúng chút của cái lò hơi, và đúng hệt là đúng hệt phần chín, nó chỉ đúng hệt đến 18%, 9% thôi, chứ nó không đúng hệt đến 100%. Làm ra một cái nó chỉ lái của 3% nó không giỏi, nó không chứ quản lý được tất cả cái đúng hệt là không đúng hệt, là rất khó. Do vậy sau khi xong để mà các bạn có thể đai bớt từ cái giá của Nghi Sơn sang giá của Thái Bình thì các bạn phải hiểu cái vấn đề sai lệch của nó. Và sai lệch đấy là sai lệch cái gì? Có những từ khác biệt, và các bạn hôm nay ngồi đây các bạn hãy nhớ được một từ gọi là quy định mặt bằng giá lên giá. Tất cả mọi chuyện đều là quy định mặt bằng giá lên giá trong mọi hoạt động. Đánh giá con người, đánh giá cái gì? Quy định bằng giá lên giá. Và khi chúng ta quy định bằng giá lên giá rồi chúng ta sẽ biết rất là nhanh. Nhưng các bạn làm báo cáo, các bạn cũng làm rất là thẳng. Từ khi đến tôi chỉ là 2-3 tiếng, thậm chí một ngắn hơn, nói đến giá trị của lên lớn cả mấy trăm tỷ. Cái kỹ năng của tôi đó là kỹ năng quy định bằng giá lên giá. Phương pháp thứ ba là họ sử dụng định mức dự toán nhà nước. Thì hiện nay ở Việt Nam là định mức xây dựng, cũng bộ công thương có những bản định mức dự toán để áp dụng cho cái việc làm nước. Ví dụ chúng ta làm sổ bảo hiểm, làm công trình đối với sách ở trên đô giác chúng ta sử dụng định mức dự toán. Nhưng mà sử dụng định mức dự toán nó cũng nằm ở cái gì? Có làm gì thì tính tận khoảng 10 tỷ, nhưng cũng biết dự toán nó đến có thẳng 15 tỷ nữa. Đặc biệt chúng tôi tìm về ngân sách, nó không quan tâm giá trị tiền của ông là bao nhiêu, mà nó quan tâm đến tính hợp pháp của lý trong tài liệu giấy tờ là bao nhiêu. Nên là trước hết muốn trở lại một cái con người mà có thể làm báo cáo kinh tế tốt, thì trước hết phải làm một người tính toán tốt và lập kế hoạch về 3 cái vấn đề: con người, vật tư và máy thì không tốt. Sau đó tầm khoảng một vài năm sẽ tất cả đi để mà làm nha. Bởi vì em hỏi đúng là em bị suy mới đúng không? Để tiếp cận được vấn đề.
I have two questions for you, for Mr. Man. The first one is the first method that's we said before, and I see that there is a risk, right? This is for tolerant or allowable cost, right? And I would like to know how much, how many percent is often cost in the total sum of the whole projects. And the second question is in the initiating spec, and we have to do some field work in survey, right? And for example, we have to do a project in another country, like you in my country, and you have to do the field work here. How can you do that? You have to come here, right? And you have to ask the government first or the local, or you have to take survey of the location and how companies has carry out the execution stage.
Okay, I think the first question about the cost, you are referring to how much you are going to, how to say, budgeting or which one?
I mean, we already have some allowance on tolerance cost, right? For example, disaster would come and storm out the whole project, and we have to think about and estimate how much is often cost in total percent of the project.
I think this one depends on different company management. Like for example, like let's say normal, usual overhead, they will charge about 10%. Then from there, they will give allowance about another 10%. So total about 30% difference. But when you do budgeting, 10%, if the company requires 10% declare profit, so you have to take something out of this 10%. So if your planning is your project requires 100 million, for example, 100 million, okay, US dollar, then you have to mark up to about 110 because you need the 10 million as a profit for the company. Okay, but to be a safe side, you mark up higher to make it 120 or 130 just for bargaining purpose. You understand? But if I tell you something like that, then in future you will mark up higher, then I will argue with you more. Okay, so but this kind of budgeting is depending on company policy. So if company policy have 10% of company profit, so you have to key into this type of factors. Then if in terms of those natural disaster and whatsoever, standby cost, all these things, you will have to go and think about on additional how you're going to put inside your overhead charge. And you can put it into some other things, but you will not definitely reflect it in your, how to say, in your submission of the cost. Okay, it should be inside your estimation, part of your estimation. It will not be like you mark up another 15% to it. But when you do estimation of cost, it should be in consideration of that. And let's say if you project finish, you estimate about 1 year. Then you have to cater it to this type of planning inside. It means let's say there's a storm, non-stop for 2 months. Then you have to cater for 1 or 2 years. This is about 40 months. Okay, so you have a buffer of 2 months. Okay, this is something how you do a bit of cost planning. Okay, so on your second question, in terms of surveying on the ground for new projects, whether it is overseas or in locals, definitely you have to go for site survey. Okay, that's the first thing you have to do. But when you go for project tendering, okay, project tendering, usually all the projects contracts, they will tell you the geographical of the areas and what type of weather you will be experience it and how the area look like. From this is on the paper. So you have to look at it. Then when you have to organize with your project teams to fly over to the areas to survey the site. That means you have to see whether there's a beach or whether there's a place for you to stay, all these things. So you have to come down very early stage to survey the whole areas. So inside when you're doing survey, you need to know food, accommodation, transport. These are the three things that are very crucial. Then you have to look about the accessibility of the site to the accommodation or to the areas of the beach. And from these type of things, you will be able to roughly know how you will have to build your teams. Whether you are building your teams in terms of very good areas to stay and accessible area for food. Because three things that is crucial for workers, and it's the food, accommodation, and transport. These are the three things that are very basic. So you have to go and look around the areas. Okay.
And how often, how long does it take to this site to finish? How many years?
Actually, depending on your site. Because contract, like let's say when we call for contract standard, usually these type of things can stretch 6 years, 6 months. 6 months, 3 months, depend on the duration of your contracts. If you need to speed up the speed, okay, you will come maybe about 2 weeks one time to confirm the things. So you have to go and plan your own. It's actually depending on the tendering stage of your time. If no more, I show you something because when we talk about it's always on paper. So I show you a few pictures that I have. Okay, so that roughly you know what is what when I'm talking about. Okay, this is a 3D modeling where we took from our client. Okay, this is projects that Highly will be doing and already done by 691 in recent one. Okay, this is actually a boiler layout. Okay, this is the steel structure of boiler and the ducting of boilers. Okay, so we will roughly have a look when we talk about boiler, then we will roughly know how the boiler looks like. Okay, but this boiler is only up to second tier. Okay, I show you this is the steel structure layout of the boiler. Okay, nothing but about 50 columns and some sub spacing and so on. Okay, this is how it looks like when you put platforms and so on. Okay, we slowly move here. Okay, this is another view up to level 3. Okay, where you can see all the ductings and all the hopper and so on. Okay, this is the whole overall outlook of the boiler. Okay, up to tier number 4, then before the other, before the roofing. Yeah, so this is roughly 69 what we're doing in type 1 still. Okay. This is another view of a boiler. Oh. Yeah, so we got different views to look at it. Okay, this is the whole boiler with all the pressure pipe, with all the ducting, okay, with all the hopper, everything like. Okay, this is the full row of the boiler. Okay, so I'll show you what is pressure pipe when we talk about what is pressure pipe. Oh, never said the pressure pipe. Okay, next time I owe you one. Okay, this is ducting. Okay, you can see ducting here. Okay, primary duct. Okay, and secondary duct coming up. Blue color. Okay, then after that, this is all the condenser and so on. Okay, so this is partial. You can look at the skeleton view of a boiler. Okay, so you can see different areas. Okay, so this is structure and ducting. To look at the same pressure pipe. Just wait for a while. Okay, this one I show you of a normal power plant that we are doing, just a thermal power plant. So actually, in terms of normal power plant that we are looking at is about this size, okay? Okay, in power plant we categorize the few things called power block and non-power block. Okay, power block is boiler and turbine. Okay, this is called power block where they generate powers. Okay, non-power block. Okay, this is the power block area. Okay, if you look carefully, this is the power block area. This is the power block area. Okay, you don't see so complicated. Actually, the things that is on there's two units. Okay, unit number 1, then unit number 2. Okay, so you are looking at 2 units. Okay, so at this particular is boiler, coal bunker. Okay, then followed by the turbine again. Okay, on top of the turbine again. Okay, the non-power block area is this area. Okay, where you can see ESP and FGD stack. Okay, these are the non-power block area where they filter the air out so that the environment will have clean air. Okay, so this is the so-called exhaust area. Okay, when you have car, you will start the engine from the exhaust. Okay, so this is the exhaust area. Okay, when the smoke comes out. Okay, the smoke will come from this, we call it stack. Okay, next, this is where the common facility, we call it balance of plants. Where this is the coal shed, where they put storage for coal. Yeah, then followed by jetty, area, and heavy fuel unloading bay, followed by limestone unloading. But this is a typical layout for working IV1. Okay, but this is the very typical, how to say, a normal facilities that a thermal power plant will have. That means they will have coal shed, ship unloader, heavy fuel, and all the tanks areas, okay, power blocks and whatsoever. Okay, so roughly just for you to have a glimpse of whatsoever is this in the power plant. Okay, I will check the pressure part portion before I. Okay, I'm going to be scared about such a big plant. Okay, actually nothing much inside. Okay, mainly only on the steel structure and plates. Nothing much. You need to do the design portion. You only need to do the construction portion. Okay, any other things for me before I find my picture for you? Okay, a pressure pipe is how you look like that. Okay, just a steam drum followed by all the walls. Yeah, you break down differently in different angles, you look like that. Okay, a steam drum, then all the angles. Okay, so how it look like in different angles. Okay, this is the most important of the boiler portion. Without this one, you will never actually turn off the power. Okay, so if you want to learn more, pressure pipe is the part where you can learn more. Okay, steel structure whatsoever is more. Okay, so pressure piping, turbine is the part that you can learn a lot from this area. So roughly a normal pressure pipe is look like this, like rounding. Okay, right? Nothing much special, but it's all the fairness and how it look like. But this is a very old model of boiler where they use everything straight plates. Okay, now in the world they have a few new boilers coming up where they call it helical boiler. Helical boiler usually used for supercritical. So this is not a supercritical boiler where pressure pipe is all straight lines. Okay, so when they use for supercritical boiler, where you can see in the market when in future you see in the high tree, for example, you will see some difference between the pressure pipes. Okay, helical boiler where all the panels is at one angle. They have one angle in it, so they call it helical boiler. In the world, actually now they are moving up to a lot of helical boiler. Like for example, IHI is quite famous with helical boiler. Okay, Alstom is another one that also produces helical boiler. So if you are interested, you have to check on the internet to understand the different type of boiler. Okay, there's helical boiler and there's normal elliptical boiler. So this is the one that is elliptical boiler, a very old boiler. Okay, but this boiler is only for coastal water. Okay, so I will just end whatever I have here. Anything you need to ask, maybe we can discuss later on. Any other things? Any other things? Okay, thank you very much.